Welcome back to another episode of the Peaky Pod by Story Archives. I'm your host, Mario, alongside
Zachary, your other host.
Ladies and gentlemen, according to the analytics, you have been eagerly awaiting these next two episodes, and it is our sincerest condolences that we had to take a week off for certain personal matters that had to be addressed.
Certain life events. I just got back from Raleigh, so it's been a fun week.
Yeah. Zach was busy avoiding canoes falling off of SUVs in the middle of I-75 or I-95, right?
I-95, yeah.
What'd you say, 95 up to North Carolina?
Yeah, we took 95. We always take 95 up. It's just a straight shot.
Yeah, straight shot through. Any little hole in the walls you stopped at? Any little food spots or drink spots that you stopped in that were of note?
There was There is a brewery. There's like 1,000 breweries in Raleigh, but one of them is Fortnite. It's in Cary.
Fortnite?
Fortnite is the name of it. Yeah, it's pretty neat. They've kind of grown up a bit since the last.
No relation to the game. None?
No relation to the game. And then, I kind of like downtown Cary. I'm just saying, like there's a nice coffee shop there. Although I had to kind of camp out there for a week. It's Brew. The name of the coffee shop is Brew.
Interesting. Good luck getting that on Google search.
Absolutely. Just
what part of Carolina is it, or North Carolina is it?
Near Raleigh.
Near Raleigh. Brew coffee near Raleigh.
Yeah, they used to be in Raleigh, but Cary's literally everything up there. It's like 15 minutes away from each other. So you have Cary. There's Garner.
I gotta pass through there.
Raleigh.
I'm gonna be going to New York soon. So.
All right.
See what's going on.
Cool. There's gonna be some places. There's some dude. The barbecue there though.
Yeah.
So good.
Brisket is what I always used to determine like how good a barbecue place is.
Brisket's my favorite anywhere.
Yeah.
But the North Carolina barbecue is just so good. The barbecue.
There's different styles to this.
It's completely different. Yeah. It's nothing like you would have down here.
So you got I think there's 4 pillars of barbecue, right? You got like the Carolinas. You got Tennessee. You have like specifically Memphis, right? You have Texas, and I think that's it. Those three are like the pillars of barbecue, all right? Of North American cuisine. Yeah. All right, let's move on. We're on season 2, episode 5 of Peaky Blinders, and perhaps 2 of my favorite episodes of all time of Peaky Blinders. We're approaching the season 6 premiere of Peaky Blinders in North America, which is on June 10th. And although you may be confused as to, hey, you're kind of like an addict out there, and you're like, I need Peaky Blinders content. I need it fast in my veins. I need to snort it like Arthur does cocaine before a meeting with Alfie Solomon. Like you need your hits, right? And then you're coming to this podcast and you're like, why the hell are these guys doing season 2? Well, that's because we started this podcast last November. And we actually did it out of order. And so if you actually would like to do a season 5 recap, you can just scroll through our archive and find season 5 and season 6 once it actually launches in the US.
Yeah.
So enjoy. Let's get into this. Episode 5 and 6 are like pantheon episodes of Peaky Blinders.
I agree. This episode really gets me excited for the next one. It's great in and of itself, but
yeah,
it's exciting.
And you know what's great about Peaky Blinders? Like, even when you rewatch this thing, like I was watching Yellowstone, which that's something we need to discuss. I think we may need to do a Yellowstone.
I've been told multiple times to get into that show, and I've just never started it. Not because I don't think I'll dislike it. I just haven't had time to start it.
No, yeah. I heard about this when it premiered, and I just said it's probably going to be great. And so I just waited. I waited years. I waited till I could binge it for like 4 seasons straight.
Yeah.
And it's great. So it might have to be done. Yellowstone show may have to be done, and like sooner than later. But let's get into this thing. I will tell you this: I did take a break from it because I was in the midst. I'm about to finish Yellowstone, but I was like, all right, I got to go prep for this podcast. Let's go do Peaky Blinders. But you never get mad turning on Peaky, even if you're having a shit day. You turn on Peaky, and you're just like, a little part of you is like, yeah, man. Let's go.
Honestly, coming back from this trip, not to go down another tangent again, on the drive back,
away, man.
I was just like, as I was nearing nearing here, and you know, even before I left to head back this way, I'm like, God, I miss normalcy. I miss the Peaky Blinders. Like, I need to just sit down and watch a show. I got for whatever reason, I got in the mood for a James Bond movie, so I watched James Bond.
Which one?
I watched the first one.
Casino Royale?
No, not Daniel Craig's first. Sean Connery's first.
Okay, so that's what we're judging this on, right? Like, I consider, you know, James Bond like, you know, BCAD kind of thing, like, you know, before Craig,
exactly,
after Connery.
Yeah. BCAC, yeah. No, I Daniel Craig is one of my favorites for sure. But no, I started the first one. But I was so happy to watch Peaky Blinders. It was just it made me look forward to the next day.
Something about the grittiness of it, you know. Something
know.
about the grittiness.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this thing. Let's start the episode here. So we left off last episode with a meeting between Campbell and Tommy, and Tommy's agreed to assassinate a man on behalf of the crown, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And the date's been set for 3 weeks to do so. But we also had a key kind of cliffhanger in the last episode where it seems Alfie has struck a deal with Sabini, right? Which, as we see in this episode, throws a complete monkey wrench and pretty much dislodges Tommy's complete operations. But we start this episode with a montage of all of Tommy's enemies, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I shout out to Sabini and his massive spoons.
Dude, I know. It's so
Did you see the spoons in the meal?
I commented about it. It's massive.
Mm-hmm. Massive spoons. Campbell's, meanwhile, screwing the formal brothel owner.
Of course.
And Alfie Solomon is getting ready for a Old Testament style, I don't know what to call this dinner.
Saber dinner.
Saber dinner?
Yeah, it's saber.
Where'd you learn that?
I have some Jewish friends, but I'm cultured. I know some things.
Cultured? All right, I guess I'm uncultured. Well, speaking of uncultured, I think Arthur is slightly under the influence of a certain substance before he walks into.
He's under multiple influences. Let me just say
shalom. Shalom. He greets Alfie with a nice shalom before this meeting, and you have it's not an Alfie Solomon scene without a complete overly drawn out monologue that eventually gets to its finish line.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, this one he does stick the landing with when he presents the goat and he goes the whole background of the Jews in Egypt and how Pharaoh persecuted them, and then kind of alluding to the Pharaoh being Tommy Shelby. That's great. Huh?
Yeah. It's phenomenal.
Meanwhile, back at Paulie's Gothic home, you know, I did wonder, why is Paulie the target here? They don't go after John Boy. Like, they go after Paulie, they go after Arthur.
Well, they go after Michael. They don't necessarily go after
But why Michael?
Why not? You might have anything on him. I think the whole thing was just meant to be chaotic and throw things into disarray.
Maybe he assumes that Paulie is a more pivotal part to the organization than John Boy.
I also think Campbell has kind of had a thing with Paulie since the first time they met in the church, right?
Yeah, we do see that later in the episode in a disturbing scene with which just makes you hate. Campbell just goes on to these hate me more moments.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, shout out to Sabini and the guy who's serving you saw Mario? Not a good episode for Mario again. No. Did you see his face?
Yeah.
Pouring the champagne? That was Mario.
Up, man. He is all cut up. Mario is screwed.
Hey, relax, bro.
He's never going on a date again.
Relax. Someone will like his face, his scarred up face. Hey, ain't no Zachs in this show, man. I don't see any Zachs pulling any weight in this show.
Yeah, because we're far superior.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think the goat's name was Zach before he named it Tommy. All right, let's continue here. Arthur gets essentially framed, and gotta say, very anticlimactic end to Billy Kitchen here, who gets shot in the face. I was, and on the rewatch, it was a little bit more disappointing because I thought he was turning into quite an epic character, right? And he just kind of dies here as a first. No one else dies. I was expecting Arthur. Like, if I'm strategically pulling this off as Alfie, I'm probably killing Arthur. Why spare him? You got the cops in your pocket. If you kill Arthur, you could just kill everybody and just like be done with it.
You know,
not like he's a moral person.
I agree with that.
We wouldn't have a show though, right?
You wouldn't have a show, and that is like the problem I have with a lot of movies and TV shows in general. It's just like, dude, if you would just kill the person or stop talking about your plan.
Well, you just saw James Bond. You just saw James Bond in a Sean Connery one, so you just got like the exact example of that to the highest degree, where like the Bond villain is going around the circle and he's saying, James, you may be wondering what I'm trying to do. And then he pulls down like a whiteboard card and he says, well, you see, I have nukes armed and pointed in every direction at every major capital in the world. and meanwhile, you cut to the back of James Bond's hands, because all they have is like a little rope where he's like tying his hands together. Whatever. You get my point. Like, just if you killed him like 15 minutes earlier, you would have no issues. But
exactly.
Like
they would save themselves so much trouble.
But then we wouldn't have anything to look forward to.
That's true.
All right. So a very long montage and overly drawn out of it's not overly drawn out. It's just what it is showing is the complete disassembling of Tommy's plan here. You know, he's lost the south of London, right? Mm-hmm. Billy Kitchen, who's their connection to what are they called? The Black Country Boys? The
Black Country Boys, I believe.
Yeah. He's lost Alfie, who was his key cog in the South. Mm-hmm. Michael's gone, and Arthur's gone. So he's lost his legitimate business, and he's lost his illegitimate business. And he's oblivious to it at this point, because he's with his little escape to the countryside with May Carlton, as he schools her horse trainer about putting goldfish.
Well, it was
water troughs.
He was scolding him about spending so much money on sawdust, I think it was, or something along those lines, to prevent the horses from getting worms. But he was just like, well, if you put goldfish in the trough,
I don't know why,
eggs, because that's where they're getting the worms from.
I don't know why, but I always find that little fact so interesting about the goldfish in the water troughs. I'm like,
because it's so bizarre. It's just like it's so practical.
It's so practical, but just it feels like nobody on earth knows that. So it's kind of like a cool little piece of information.
Yeah, all these horse trainers are just like, oh my God, I had no idea.
I've also been watching Yellowstone, has a lot of horses. So
didn't mean to cut you off. On the drive up to Raleigh, we were passing so many trailers on the road with horses, because they were going to the Kentucky Derby. It was on the weekend I was there, and I was like,
did you see the comeback of the Kentucky Derby?
That was crazy.
What's his name? His name was Rich Strike, I think was named
I forgot the name, but I did see it.
Came back, I think, from 18th place or 21st place in one of the most insane comebacks in sports history.
Bro.
Insane. I have a top-down view of it. I'll text it to you after the show. Fantastic.
We have got to go to the Kentucky Derby
next year. I'm gonna go to the Epsom Derby.
Well, I'm not gonna fly over there, but let's go to the Kentucky one.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so Tommy's horse. Seems like May is still training the horse, but in this episode we get a little bit of a love triangle. We get the return of Grace. What's Grace's last name?
I don't know.
I feel like we were just told what her last name was, but
her maiden name, or her name now that she's married to this other man?
She's not married. She's engaged.
Okay.
That's a big difference.
It is. I swear they were married.
What's her last name? They told us her last name, like Burgess. Yeah, it's a forgettable last name. Yeah. Considering they don't use it at all.
Yeah, well, I feel like I've almost never heard it.
Tommy has a confrontation with Campbell in the same church that he meets with him in the last episode, I believe. And this time, he's upset with Campbell. Why? Because I kind of understand it from Campbell's perspective. Apparently the Home Secretary, I think that's the name of the position over in the UK,
I do believe,
was caught in some immoral practices, and he needed some heat off of him. So Campbell, I think, seeing the way his relationship with Churchill was going, chose the guy who kind of outranks Churchill to break his word to Tommy and pretty much put Tommy in a position where he absolutely needs to to go through with the killing. Right? What he needs is assurance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Campbell's going down this slippery road, my friend. Slippery road.
Yeah, I didn't like him at all. Honestly, I don't think I've ever liked him. But this season, he's been extremely dislikable. And I feel like it's these last 2 episodes that really...
There's a lot of times, though, where you're picking Campbell as your favorite scene. Like, I remember you picked him as favorite scene when he gave his speech to the police department.
Yes. But so here's the thing, though. I'm picking some of those because he's a great actor. Like, he does it. He makes it very convincing. And he really makes the character that you want and should hate. Like, you shouldn't like him.
And he's an interesting character because he's not just like your typical villain. He's the villain that kind of sticks around and evolves in the show too. Yeah. So it's not just that he has one plot. Because Kimber was like in and out, right?
Yeah, it was 1 season and he's done. This guy's in 2.
Yeah, but Campbell's kind of like a more connected character in the show.
Yeah.
And his relationships branch out beyond Tommy as well. He kind of impacts all of Tommy's family at a certain point.
Well, his character's also been developing just as long as Tommy's has for us.
But almost the opposite direction in a sense.
It does feel like it. Like Tommy's trying to become more legitimate. I mean, that's his goal. He's kind of growing up, and then I feel like Campbell's just always on the day. Like he's gaining more power and things like that, but he's just always on a downward slope. It seems like he continues to lose himself and
he's unraveling.
Exactly. That he's spiraling. That's exactly right.
Okay, last episode, Tommy calls Grace, and he doesn't say anything, and Grace knows it's him.
The man picked up the phone.
Yeah, but it gave the impression. Am I mistaken in saying that there was multiple scenes where we saw a phone ringing and nobody answering? Or was it just that one scene where her fiance picks up?
I want to say it was just that one scene from Grace's angle. I don't really think we saw anything of her.
The way it was filmed, though, it was almost in a way that kind of felt like, oh, he'd done this a couple times before and he's been trying to get her on the line. Right?
Yeah. Because
it's like if he's not saying anything, because if he says something, then he can't have a little rendezvous with her. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, they agree to meet up. I almost said they agree to make out, which also happens, but they agree to meet up. And but Tommy does need to take care of some things first, starting with a family meeting where John gives him the rundown of everything I just said earlier, which is essentially you want to use the word spiraling disassembly of his empire that was going so smoothly on the previous episode. And I gotta say, Paulie here is so emotional and so illogical that it's like perfect, because it just shows like the mother's love that can't see anything straight. And then she kind of goes and starts on a diatribe of, men are the ones who got into this, men are the ones fighting like cockerels, like it's just
yeah,
she kills it, man. Literally,
she does. I mean, she's extremely good at this. I mean, well, acting in general, like she owns it. But at the same time, I don't like seeing Paulie like this that much.
No, I don't either. But it makes sense with her actions in the following scene, where she takes matters into her own hands.
It is true.
Which she probably shouldn't have, considering how she should just probably trust Tommy in this scenario, but she goes and takes matters into her own hands, and it kind of immediately backfires on her.
Well, I mean, that's what we've been learning up to this point is, trust Tommy, right? Like, it's always Tommy's plan here.
Esme chimes in and mentions an alliance with the Lees because she's kin with the Lees, and Tommy takes her up on that. But she also has this moment with Tommy, which I gotta ask, can Jimmy look up getting lost and what that means in gypsy term? Mm-hmm. And also, is there a little bit of like sexual chemistry here between Esme and Tommy, or Esme towards Tommy? What does she mean? Does she mean like to run away with Tommy to France when she's talking to him about like, hey, tune into your gypsy side here? She waits for John to walk away when she goes into this little thing. I lost Jimmy.
Smoking opium, I believe, is what that is.
Smoking opium. All right, that's up Tommy's alley.
Getting lost.
But do you notice how she waits till John's gone?
Yeah.
I wondered if this was not like
the first time. Like, this isn't the first time that Esme's kind of had this.
Yeah, but it's the first time she's had a one-on-one with Tommy about it, though.
It doesn't go in her favor.
No, it doesn't. I mean, he does.
I'll cut you from this family.
He threatens to cut her and to cut her from the family, I think. Mm-hmm. But that's just my interpretation of that. All right, I was wrong. I was wrong about the Esme trying to make a move on Tommy here.
I don't see it. I think she's a stronger person than we give her credit to be.
Well, that wouldn't make her weak.
No, but I don't think she like needs him or anything like that.
I didn't say she needs him either. What are you trying to say?
Nothing. I already said what I was trying to say. I just don't think she's getting with him.
I'm messing around. You
got John Boy, man. Come on.
John Boy does look badass in this episode when he's walking away from the explosion. But no, honestly, the Esme scene looks more like she sees Tommy unraveling as well. Unraveling is going to be the word of this episode.
Yeah.
Where she sees an opportunity to pounce, and she knows he's the decision maker. And she also knows that he's kind of torn between this wild gypsy side and the ambitious businessman side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Polly goes to visit Campbell after completely losing her composure in the previous family meeting. And we get this very awkward power dynamic where, like, we see Campbell's... I don't know what you would call it. What would you call this? This, like... I don't know. He has, like, a kink or something?
Yeah, he definitely has a fetish.
He has a kink for being like power and dominating, and so he wants Polly to essentially, he wants to blackmail Polly into having sex with him or doing something. And it seems to be kind of just a way to get at Tommy more than his interest in Polly, in my opinion.
I don't even know if it was to get at Tommy. Like, I mean, look at every sex scene that we've seen Campbell in, though. It's like he's always dominating the person.
Yeah, right? I'm not denying that part. I'm saying that this is like doubly tempting to him because it humiliates Tommy, and it takes advantage of somebody he loves. You know?
Of course, I'm sure there's an element of that to it.
It's like
I
Tommy's
also just
mother.
think he's a weird ass dude.
Well, Tommy does confront him about this. No spoilers, but he does confront him about this at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes known quickly, and Michael, it becomes an embarrassment to the family in a way, right? And you can,
almost immediately in this episode, right? Like when we get Michael later.
What was your reaction to Michael's reaction? Did you think it was heartless?
I think Polly's. I think Polly was just being emotional and irrational and making foolish decisions. He's in there for. What, arson?
Was it arson or was it something with gambling and racketeering?
No, with him it was arson. It was burning down the bar or something along those lines.
That doesn't sound like a death penalty to me.
No. He was going to be in there for 5 years, I think was the number, potentially, right? But I still just think this move was a bad play. And I mean, come on, like you're a guy in jail. You find out your mom sleeps with this inspector, right? To get you out. Everybody's going to be egging you about it, making jokes, laughing like he says they are. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like his reaction is somewhat justified. It's just like, really? Like, I could handle myself.
I mean, hindsight's 20/20, right? I mean, she obviously there's no world where she should have done this.
Yeah.
But it also says something kind of honorable about her as well.
Yeah.
Where she puts, I mean, it just shows how much she loves her son, that she cares that little about her own dignity to let this foul human take advantage of her.
Yeah, and I mean, you could also kind of perceive it in a way where it's like, he's maybe less so disappointed in what she did, but disappointed in the fact that things transpired which caused it to happen.
I mean, I think it's just normal son being kind of, any son would be embarrassed or, hey, like, never do that type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, you can understand both sides. Paulie's, I think, is just, up until now, we haven't seen Tommy do anything where he could pull this kind of leverage, right? In terms of like getting somebody out of prison. Like, we haven't seen that yet, if I'm not mistaken. So there's not a lot of like stuff there.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward to from Campbell's
crying fetish.
Yeah. We get Paulie in a, I mean, who can blame her? It's like a drunken bath by a fireplace. Like, pour whiskey in the bathtub too, just to like.
Bro, I mean, for real. She was drinking at the Spotted Dog, I believe, which is actually a real place.
Which also,
to this day.
Who knows what she caught? Because Campbell's sleeping with a brothel owner like before in this episode too. So another kind of wild card variable there.
I also feel like they're all kind of wild. So like, who knows what? I mean, she just slept with a 18-year-old or whatever he was. I don't know. He was a young man. Now
Ada does Ada or Paulie tell? Who tells who about Michael getting out?
Paulie says that Michael's getting out tomorrow, so we don't need to worry about it.
Yeah. Well, they're just kind of discussing it. Ada seemed a little oblivious to the whole thing, right?
Well, I mean, Ada was just trying to reassure her, like, hey, don't worry about it. We're going to get everybody out. Tommy's going to get everybody out. And that's when Paulie was just like, Michael will be out in the morning.
I think that scene also kind of made Paulie think that she may have jumped the gun a little bit, you know? Just wait a day. Can you wait like one day?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe not like immediately go and sleep with the police chief.
Yeah.
Give it a day. I'm not saying like by day 3 maybe, but you know,
see what happens, right? Like, he's arrested find out the reason. Why was he actually arrested? What's going on, Tommy?
Yeah. So also Tommy had some leverage here still, man.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. Tommy has to kill a guy for Campbell. If he says, if you don't release my family from prison right now, I will not kill this person.
Mm-hmm.
Those people are going to be released from prison.
Yeah.
Anyways. Moral of the story, trust Tommy Shelby.
Yeah.
If your last name is Shelby or you have any blood relation to him,
you're good.
Just trust him. Well, Michael's released and he is kind of a prick about it, but you can understand his perspective as well because he's been beaten to hell in prison. Obviously, there's a gash across his forehead and bruises all over his face, and
he's a little messed up.
And he lets his mom know that he found out about how he got out. So on to Tommy's shit shoveling. I love this scene with Curly and Tommy here. Now, it does feel a little condescending to Curly in some ways that he's shoveling in there, but for anybody who's ever like feeling bad for themselves, this is a great scene. It's kind of like a perspective setter, you know, like, hey, this is what you would be. This is what you would be. Like, you don't deserve where you are. Go and get it, or you're no better than the guy who's shoveling horse poop for a living, you know?
Yeah.
Now, mind you, very efficient shit shoveler.
Oh man, yeah, he's got some some fire in those.
Yeah, like Tommy's even like, hey, you want a shovel? Like, you can come back, man, because this was terrific. You got any experience shoveling shit, Zach?
Horse shit? No.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. What other kind of shit you been shoveling?
Dog shit.
Oh, dog shit. All
yeah, right. It's great. I don't think I've shoveled horse shit. No, not horse.
Yeah, I had an old friend in high school, and his dad. I think they have horses now in Kentucky, actually.
Oh yeah.
And he went to my friend, and he said, "Like, this is kind of like a friend who didn't have a direction at the time in life," and he was like, "Hey, you want to shovel shit?" It was one of the funniest moments.
Fuck it. Yeah. Why not?
That's when they're like gonna move. But anyways, we get to Grace, who's about to go on the scandalous affair to go see her aunt, who's half deaf. Talk about a lie to your fiance. I think a little bit of a deal breaker, no?
Just a bit. If you found out.
You know, like, say you're gonna go to the movies. Don't say you're gonna go see your half deaf aunt. How do you like? I'm just keep on going with unravel. How do you unravel that one?
Well, you know, people back in these times were very like caught up in appearance and perception and things like that, right? Like, you know, they always gotta look their best, be their best. So I mean, I buy it. I could buy it.
Speaking of appearance and perception,
she's from the area. Go ahead.
Speaking of appearance and perception, on your notes, I noticed you realized that the guy who was staying with Ada was leaving the building. Yeah. Why is Tommy in this building and why is that guy there?
Well, this is Ada's house.
Why is he at Ada's house?
Because Campbell's men are watching Ada. So how do I let Campbell know that I've got Grace?
Oh, wow. So this was like really contrived, this whole plan.
Yeah, this is a plan, man.
Ah, damn. That's a good catch right there.
Thank you.
That's a good catch, man.
It happens sometimes, you know.
Yeah, good job, bro. So he has a moment with Grace, which this is one of my all-time favorite scenes here. And he lets her know. He kind of like cuts straight to the chase within 3 minutes. And lets her know, like, you know, he was going to go and try to get her back for a moment. But then he goes back and forth. And what he's really doing is kind of just like, all right, how does it feel? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the way I took it, you know? He changed his mind.
Yeah.
But he knows Grace is his, in a sense, right? Why else would she be there?
Yeah, I mean, this also reminds me of a bit of, I think it was Tommy's scene with May Carlton. Do you want to fuck?
Yeah.
She's like straight to the fucking point.
Yeah, I would agree. A little less crass.
Yeah.
Right? But
well, much. I mean, he cares more about Grace.
He has more chemistry with Grace and comfort in a background, so he can really kind of like dig into her, you know? Like, she's deluding herself. He's like, oh, yeah, he's rich.
Yeah.
He's sweet. Why are you here? You know, he's like really getting at her in this scene.
I mean, he literally finds out all about her.
But she also could just be screwing around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's obviously into Tommy, but she's one of these, like, you know, one of these women who doesn't know what she wants necessarily, and she's going back and forth constantly here.
Yeah, but so I mean, we also know that she's good at playing a part, right? Like, I mean, he probed at her, like, oh, are you still undercover? Right? So, I mean, you kind of got to check. You got to ask.
Trust issues?
I mean, I would have some. I mean, she lied to you the entire time that she was there, right? She was pretending to be somebody else.
Yeah, I'd say it's well deserved.
I'd say when that was like the root cause of all things that went sideways in the last season, I'd have trust issues too.
I gotta say, I'm Team May Carlton on this rewatch.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I've never been a big Grace fan.
I like this scene, but it would have been almost better if he did this and just ripped, like, hey, go back to New York, have a good life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, don't ever do that again. What do you think? You think this is how this goes? You think you can just leave? And well, then again, she did give him. She wanted to stay with him. She said, "Come to New York," but that's not really an option.
It was more of like an ultimatum, if anything.
It's like if you know, your girl goes and you're on the precipice of breaking up, and she's like, "All right, you want to stay with me? Go to Thailand." Like, I got a job. Like, I got stuff to do. I can't do that from over there.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Like, what is Tommy gonna go do in New York? Work in a butcher shop?
He might shovel shit. You never know.
You never know. You never know. It's exactly the point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that meeting with Grace, he kind of eases up on her and says, "Look, what I really wanted to do is take you out. I don't want to talk nonsense for hours here. I'm gonna go impress you." And he does impress her. He takes her to go see Charlie Chaplin.
What did you think about the casting of Charlie Chaplin?
I haven't seen a picture of Charlie Chaplin in a long time, so I can't comment. But it seems like you were impressed by the tone of your voice.
A little bit, yeah. I like the casting of him. It
should have just put Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
like
dude, I know.
Like,
when I saw it, I was like, dang, he kind of does look like Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, no,
and I know Robert Downey Jr., at least from my perception, my perspective, he looked a lot like Charlie Chaplin.
I don't see the Robert Downey Jr. resemblance that you see, though.
It's not strong. like this guy looks a lot younger than Robert Downey Jr. did.
Yeah. By the way, just a film rec to all those listening. Chaplin with Robert Downey Jr. Great movie.
I agree. I just watched it like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I like it a lot. I think I bought it actually.
Back home from the Charlie Chaplin encounter. Can we just talk about how perfectly timed this song is, like with the guitar strums and like the moments of contemplation of trying to stop, and then her reservations, and it's great. Yeah. I wonder if they kind of reworked that song, or if it's just
dude, I don't know,
perfect.
Man. But PJ Harvey, like so many of the songs in Peaky Blinders are by PJ Harvey.
Yeah,
I almost bought one of her vinyls in West Palm.
Her
a few weeks ago. PJ Harvey, yeah.
It's a her. Okay.
Yeah, it's a girl. Yeah, she like most of the songs, the Down by the Water, or like there's all of it is her.
Yeah. Well, they have a quick little quickie on the couch there before Grace has to go. And how messed up is this?
Curfew's midnight, man.
She's got to get home, and they're there to go do tests as to why they can't have children.
Yeah.
How messed up is that? You are cheating on your fiance on the trip that you came over here to test to see if who's infertile.
And
you go and have an affair? That's not a red flag if you're Tommy?
I don't know, man. Like, I mean, the whole you being with somebody else and then now you're having sex with them and having an affair is kind of a red flag to begin with, but
not necessarily.
I think she knows.
Not necessarily.
Like, look, it's not necessarily. Me. It's not me. It's the guy. Like, or at least she's gonna have that suspicion. So this is another way of testing that out.
No, come on, Zach. That's you being too logical and way too calculated, bro. That's your coder brain. That's your coder brain. There's no way.
I was just doing some development before this.
Yeah, this is not like that. Is not an actual. Bring the human element back in here. No, honestly though, I don't think it matters, and I don't think it's a red flag, because if anybody, everyone in the audience, you got that one relationship where you got it good with a certain person, and no matter what, like no other person can kind of come in there. That there's no red flag in that zone, and I think that's the kind of relationship that Tommy and Grace have here, where it's like, yeah, she cheated on him, but she'd never do that to me. Like that ain't happening. Like you are the exception type of thing. Mm-hmm. That's the relationship they got. They have I am the exception.
Well, then this is mostly just an excuse to see him, like
hands down.
Yeah,
hands down. Yeah. And determined too. You got to go on a ship across the sea, my God.
Of course. I also want to note that before they came back and had that little quickie, Tommy made a phone call over to Campbell to let him know that, hey, like I told you earlier.
Oh yeah, that was great.
The people that you have stationed outside of my sister's house, they're gonna see me come home with a woman. Can you guess who she is?
Obviously we finished watching Peaky Blinders completely, but that I always remember Campbell's voice after the call when he goes, "Liar!"
Yeah,
I always crack up at that scene where he's just like completely liar. Like, don't give him the satisfaction of screaming that into the phone, man.
I know.
He always just kind of takes the bait. He always takes the bait.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. All right, so Arthur in prison. He has no choice but to trust in Tommy.
Yeah, he's kind of screwed right now.
Yeah,
he's just as bad a shape as Michael was, it looks like.
He looks a little better than Michael.
Yeah, well, maybe the beating stopped and he had some time to heal.
Yeah, probably.
Although his wounds look a little more fresh.
Yeah, definitely. John Boy is there to reassure him that Tommy does have a plan. But like I said, up until now, Tommy really hasn't flexed any sort of pull to get people out of prison. And I think Arthur was going to deal with the gallows.
Yeah, he was going to be basically sentenced to death.
Yeah, because he was being framed for Billy Kitchen's murder.
Mm-hmm.
As Alfie's like playing it up, he's like, he came in here in a bloody blood orgy. Yeah, he says some crap like that. Yeah. But on to Tommy's plan. He actually goes by the same house. He sends Johnny Dogs and John Boy to patrol the house, and Johnny Dog sets a distraction as John Boy sets a bomb at the porch of this, I guess the assassination target that Tommy has. But
Yes.
When I first saw the bomb, obviously I've kind of forgotten about some certain details here because it's been a little bit since I've watched season 2. But I was like, that bomb's not going to kill anybody on the second floor of that house. Like, only to find out that this was just a distraction because Tommy knew that assassinating him there was a complete trap for him to be killed by Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on to maybe one of my favorite scenes of the episode. The breakup of May Carlton and Tommy Shelby. Tommy shows up and May's so excited to show him these goldfish in the tro. And Tommy's looking down at the goldfish almost like, look at you goldfish, you're so happy. And I'm here miserable with everything that I have. And I love May in this scene. I mean, she's in love with Tommy and she doesn't care about his lifestyle or any of that. And here he is, but love is love, man. And he's got it bad for Grace, even though at this point he still thinks that Grace is sailing away. So we actually have a high honor moment here between Tommy and May, where he's pretty much just saying we got to break it off because there is someone, like, he's thinking about her. It's just
Mario is soft clapping in the background.
You can hear that on the mic. Just as Campbell's doing things that are completely immoral in this episode, Tommy's got a couple of moments of good in here.
Yeah,
but he does kind of flip it in classic guy fashion. He's trying to do the breakup, but then he's trying to flip it back where it's like, well, you were just using me because I'm a gangster and you wanted to prove a point to your little rich friend. Like, you notice that little thing is kind of Team Petty.
Yeah.
Tom Petty over here.
Everyone's a little petty.
Pun intended. Pun intended. Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. When he did it, when he reversed back and he was like, oh, so this is what it was, huh? Putting up a fight? As if he's not there as the one breaking it up. And then he goes and kind of like reels her along even further and he says, well, what if I said I wanted to stay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, let me have my cake and eat it and go back home and eat some more cake.
I don't know why the way that you just said that sounded so bizarre, but all right.
I
get it. Yeah.
Just overall, Team May in this episode.
She wins me over in this scene.
I'm looking at it from the perspective of he's got a lifestyle to him too, man. Like, it's not like you can just go be with any woman. Like, you can, but you might have a headache down the road.
You will.
May
will have a headache.
May seems perfectly down for that life.
Yeah. She wants the thrill.
I don't know if it's the thrill. I think she genuinely likes this guy.
Well, I mean, that definitely is also, a fact.
Yeah, we got to get some goldfish,
I think she likes that, I mean, he's the bad boy, right?
Yeah.
Girls like the bad boys sometimes.
Well, I like when she says, well, you've explained her to me like a gentleman. Now please return to being a gangster.
Yeah.
That's a great... Yeah, told me about it like a gentleman. Now kindly behave like a gangster again.
Mm-hmm.
Which he didn't take too kindly to. But she's, she gets to the point where it's a little too desperate that it's unattractive, where she's like, feel bad for me, pity me. And that's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
You got to put up a little bit of a fight,
Yeah. Yeah, she did kind of just
give everything to Tommy.
Yeah.
You gotta hold some of your poker chips, you know what I mean? It never works.
I know. Yeah, we should play poker sometime.
You like to play poker?
I love poker. I love Texas Hold'em. I actually have 2 massive poker sets.
We need more people though. We need like at least 4 or 5 people.
You can do it with 3.
Yeah, but it's not great with 3. It's too many.
It's not terrible. I've done it with 2 before. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I think the good number is 5. That's
a good number. Yeah, 4 to 5 is like a good number, but
yeah. Well, on to the final meeting. Wow, we're already at the final meeting. Campbell goes to Tommy's office, and like a scumbag he is, he's trying to open his cabinets, to which Tommy catches him red-handed.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
But I do want to note that, like, I don't think Campbell went in there to open his comments. He's very much so an opportunist of the situation.
He's like the nosy house guest who goes into your medicine cabinet and sees what you got.
I hate those people. Yeah. I hate those people.
How do you know when it's them? Like, who's doing it? I think we kind of just make assumptions as to who would do it.
Yeah, I think that plays a good role in it. I've done some James
Have you done
Bond
that before?
things where I've taken a hair and I've put it over something just see Is someone gonna mess with this?
Oh, I do that too, man.
I do some random stuff.
I'll leave my house, and I'll put like one little thing that's like impossible to enter my house without altering.
Yep.
And I'll come back, and if that thing's, it's never like been out of place, but God forbid the day that it is. God forbid.
You're gonna go grab your fucking Nerf gun or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who's there? I got a police baton. Just crack somebody's head over.
There you go.
By
Close
order,
quarters
the Peaky
combat.
Blinders. Well, Tommy lets Campbell know, because Campbell's there for a reason, obviously, right? He's not there to shoot him with a Nerf gun. He's there to ask him, hey, why'd you blow up a bomb and not actually kill your target? And Tommy explains that, hey, look, how about this? I'm not going to get arrested in a clear trap, and I'm going to kill him when it suits me.
Yeah.
On his own time. And we find out that that's at the Epsom Derby, where there's going to be plenty of distractions and no way that he can be arrested or shot on sight by Campbell's men, which he knows exactly that that's the play. And he ends he ends it by telling the location, the venue of, and when he's going to make this assassination happen.
Yeah.
But not before he lets Campbell know the name of his horse.
Of course.
Oh, so
Grace's
good.
secret.
And Campbell always takes the bait, man. I wouldn't have bent down to read that paper. I would have said, I don't give a damn. I don't care what the name of the horse is.
I like how he also gets very pissed off. Where and when?
I would be pissed too, but it's because he's outmaneuvered Campbell, right?
Yeah.
He's outmaneuvered Campbell once again.
Yeah, he really does always take the bait. It kills me.
It's interesting though, because Campbell has the cards here. Because he has this, I'd say Tommy has the leverage card.
Tommy just flipped everything on its head. Campbell had the cards when he had everybody arrested.
Yeah.
But Tommy literally just flipped everything on his head. The whole plan is up in smokes.
You also have to wonder, it made no sense for Campbell to release Michael. Think about it. You have everyone in prison.
You've already done the damage, though.
You've done the damage, but what I'm trying to say is that why did you arrest these people? You arrested them for assurance. So now you released one of your poker chips, and Paulie is obviously the consigliere of that family. That is like the right hand to Tommy. So by taking Michael out of prison, Paulie's back to normal.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
That is true. Is Arthur enough to be the assurance? His own brother, his own blood?
I think that Arthur's a grown man, so you don't have that kind of pressure from somebody else. Paulie's going to be putting constant emotional pressure and distress on Tommy and the organization to get Michael out, right?
Maybe this was just purely a bad move by Campbell, although it almost feels like it was Campbell's plan to have that happen. Like he almost looked like he was expecting it, because he also talks about he felt there was a connection ever since the moment when he had her up against the car, right?
I know what you're talking about. I'm just laughing at the ridiculousness of Campbell thinking there's chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. It's because she gasped, and he felt like he was dominating.
She gasped when
he
mentions
shoved her
that
up against the car. No, but if you look back at the scene, she makes a noise or something along those lines in shock or surprise, which
I don't remember.
I think in his eyes, made her look weak, and him.
I'm sure Campbell's the type of guy that a glance goes his way, and it's it's on.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the categories.
Before we get into the categories, I do want to note, I should say, that I think this is the first episode where we finally figure out who Tommy is supposed to assassinate.
Yes, yeah. And what is the actual title?
Field Marshal Henry Russell, who is actually not a real person. However, I did a little bit of digging. Not a lot, a little bit. But there's a lot of speculation that it is, a little shit shoveling. Okay. There's a lot of speculation that this character, Field Marshal Henry Russell, was actually based off of Sir Henry Wilson, the first baronet, who was there at the time, and I believe was also assassinated. So I like there. I think that is the person that this is probably based off of.
Was he assassinated at the Epsom Derby?
I didn't get that far into it. I didn't. I had to work today.
So you were not as proficient of a shit shoveler as Tommy. You were more of a Curly level shit shoveler.
Yeah, today for sure.
I think he's lost his mind, Charlie.
Yeah.
All right, actually, let me do like a little recap of the episode of where this leaves us. We still have Sabini in control of South London. We have Alfie in a deal with Sabini. We have an assassination that needs to take place at the Epsom Derby. We have Tommy's horse in the race. We have a love triangle between May, Grace, and Tommy. We have Arthur in prison. And what am I missing? And Tommy trying to escape death. And we also have, looming somewhere in there, the IRA element that we don't know where that's gone to yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I also wonder what's going to happen with the Black Country Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Now that
yep.
Arthur has been framed for the murder of one of them.
Yeah. Well, you also have the alliance with the Lees, so we got to see how that plays out as well.
That's true. We're going to have some Lee boys.
A lot of stuff to resolve in the final episode of season 2, which is my all-time favorite episode of Peaky Blinders. I am so
excited for it.
My all-time favorite. When are we recording the next? I can't record tomorrow.
Oh, good. I was going to say let's postpone it because I want to take an extra day to work on just notes and enjoy the episode.
Okay.
I would be down. Night or something.
I would be down for Friday. Well, let's get into the categories.
Let's go.
I think we owe it to our audience to get out 2 episodes this week. Do you agree?
I 100% agree, especially since we're going to be closing out season 2.
Yeah, we got to finish season 2. But 100%. I would like to get this episode up tomorrow and get the other one up. Maybe we do an earlier recording on Friday. I don't know what your day looks like, but we should talk about this off the air.
Yeah, for sure.
This is what it sounds like off the air, by the way, guys. Let's get into the superlative.
All right, let's start with, I'm gonna switch things up a little bit. Let's start with most memorable characters. I have one.
Oh, you make a good point. We obviously know who the most prominent character is.
It's Tommy in this
Tommy.
one,
and you give your point because you made it succinctly in your notes.
Awesome. So the next one.
He's just prominent in the first 2 seasons, like you mentioned. He carries the.
He's such a strong character in the first 2, and
he's always
so much developed. Oh yeah, he always is a strong character. I mean, he's great. I love him. I always love him. But he's really strong in this season as well, and we see a ton of character growth in here.
Yeah.
Next one, best scene. I have 3. What are yours?
I also wrote down 3. I wrote down Tommy welcoming Grace to his apartment. I have May and Tommy's breakup. And then I have that final meeting of Tommy and Campbell, but specifically when he shows Campbell the horse's name.
So
honorable mention is Campbell screaming, "Liar!"
That's got to be a line or something. I do have that one as my third, which is the meeting between Tommy and Campbell at the end of the episode. One of my best scenes of this episode was Tommy shoveling shit.
Yeah. How could I forget?
I did really like that. And then I think the whole thing with Tommy's night out with Grace was just great, because it was just like, as much as I don't love Grace, Tommy does.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, it was this nice reunion, and then at the same time, like sticking it to the man sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I did like that.
Okay.
All right. Best line of the episode, or lines of the episode.
My best line for me comes from the shit shoveling scene where he says, Curly asked him, "Tommy, what are you doing?" And he says, "I'm reminding myself of where I'd be if I wasn't who I am." And then he's like, this is honest work, but I don't want to get too used to it. It's both just great lines. And then, "Liar!"
It is a great line. One of my favorite from Mr. Campbell. So my favorite lines from the episode is, the whole "Sign it, Mr. Campbell, please, sir."
Oh, Polly? The weak Polly?
It was just bizarre. But I always remember that back and forth between them.
Yeah.
My next favorite is, you told me like a gentleman, now kindly behave like a gangster again.
I like that one too.
I like that one.
I also got to give an honorable mention to the line delivery of Alfie's monologue ending with where Arthur's like, yeah, what'd you name the goat? And he says, Tommy Shelby. And he goes right into, like, it's a perfect, just kind of like, Tommy Shelby. Yeah,
it is. It's so good. The other one that I remember, I don't love, but I do remember it from this, like, just seasons later. I still remember this line is Esme going, what family? Yeah, that's another memorable one. Yeah. Hands down. I did remember the goldfish thing too, but that's not like I like when Tommy says where the trainer goes, is that a gypsy thing? And he says, no, that's an accounting thing. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm just saving money. Smart ass. But all right. Any moments that stood out? That's the last one I got.
The scene with Tommy and Grace is just the whole sequence from that to the right before they hook up in the song, the way it plays out is just
yeah, you did make note of that.
Masterfully done. I made note of that in the episode, but not in the notes.
No, but, during the episode. Yeah. Mine is one that we already kind of picked on, which was the whole Polly sleeping with Campbell. Like, was it really necessary? Really, like, give it a day.
Yeah.
It seemed. So I don't even know if I would say an issue with it, but I feel like Polly has consistently been a fairly level-headed person who, I mean, like, when we get the character introduced in season 1, right? Like, she's holding a gun to John Boy's head, right? Yeah. Like, she's a really strong character. And I don't like seeing her unraveled like this. It's just, it feels so not Polly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but she's not emotionally prepared to lose her son again. And so it's understandable.
It's understandable. It's understandable. It's just, it almost seems
it is irrational. It is irrational for her. But she's never been as rational as Tommy is. She's never been involved to that deep level.
Many people are as rational as Tommy is. I'm just saying.
Yeah. All right. That will conclude our commentary on episode 5 of season 2. And on the next episode, we will wrap up season 2 with a commentary of the finale. Zach, welcome back, man. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be in Florida again.
I'm glad. It took you like a few days to get your gears going.
Oh, it did. Yeah. It's a little slower.
How are the people in North Carolina?
They're nice. People are nice down here.
Not your family. Like, were strangers nice up there?
About as nice as you are down here.
You know what, though? Like, I was watching Yellowstone today, and one of the guys, like, was asked, hey, what rodeo do you like? What was your favorite rodeo? He said, probably Alberta. But I couldn't stand that it was in Canada. And they were like, why? And he's like, people were too damn nice. 10 days of that. I wanted to go back to Fort Worth. Yeah. And it's like, you ever been in a place that's so nice that you want to get back to the rudeness of South Florida a little bit?
Absolutely. So for me, it's always been when I've gone a little farther than North Carolina. So like from my experience, Virginia, people get really nice. I've been in Pennsylvania. They're really nice. You get to New York and it's like, if you're in the country, they're nice. If you're in the city, it feels like you're in Florida. Right? Yeah. So
it's just what it is.
I spent a month in PA once, and I'm like, I've got to get back.
What it is that we're kind of ruined. It's like someone's too nice to us in another state. It's like, what's your angle?
Exactly.
What are you trying to do? Like, you're trying to take me back to your house and carve me up? Like, what's going on here? It's like, I was in LA and people were so nice. It's weird too, by the way, because everyone tells me everyone was rude in LA, and I looked over to my friend. This was my first time there, and I said, Are we getting punked right now? Like, everybody was way too nice, and it was a little offsetting. But it feels right in the city. It feels weird in the countryside. All right, wrap the episode.
Have you? Before I do that, have you been to a rodeo yet?
No. Can we go?
Absolutely. Kayla and I go with my family whenever it's around. I always used to go. So
I've got a couple cowboy hats, man.
Bro, I'll bring you. When I was younger, small tangent. When I was younger, my room was a Western room.
Really? You ever ridden a horse?
Oh yeah, I've ridden horse in the Tennessee mountains, Rocky Mountain area. Yeah, I've ridden horses out there.
Is it difficult?
No, not at all. I love it. But I had tons of different cowboy boots. I had the cowboy hats, the outfits, horseshoes all across the wall. It was great. So yeah, whatever the next one comes around, I'll let you know.
Yeah, my room was a baseball room growing up. I had like a baseball fan.
I had that too. That was before the Western thing.
That was the Western? Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Got you. John Wayne or Clint Eastwood?
I love Clint Eastwood. I love them both. I mean, they're both so good.
I'm not a John Wayne guy at all.
Really?
Not at all.
We'll have to talk about that offline.
All right.
Wrap the
episode.
Thank you for listening to Season 2, Episode 5 of the Peaky Blinders podcast by Story Archives on the Midnight Exchange Podcast Network. You can find this podcast anywhere you find podcasts, Google, Apple, Spotify. We're also in some other areas. You can visit us on Instagram at Story Archives or visit our website at storyarchives.themidnightexchange.com, which again brings us into the podcast network, themidnightexchange.com. There's a whole bunch of links there to social and other podcasts. Go ahead and check it out. If you want to send us an email at podcast@themidnightexchange.com and let us know if there's like a show suggestion you want to have us do. That's it.
Thank y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Until the next time, stay peaky. Stay peaky.
Stay peaky.
All right. Take care.